those events shaped the Ireland that we live in. We're also in the middle of a centenary of commemorations remembering the First World War. Again, no matter what we think about it, we can't change what happened, but it shaped the Europe that we lived in today. The map of Europe was drawn completely differently as a consequence of World War I. But the reason that we're here today, marking the 70th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima on the 6th of August 1945, and let's not also forget Nagasaki on the 9th of August 1945, is that the whole world was reshaped in a way that it can never be changed again. The consequences of that one bombing of Hiroshima on this day 70 years ago have no benefits compared to what happened with World War I or 1916, depending on your outlook. But it reshaped the world in a way that we are all living with fear, and we are all living under the shadow of a nuclear cloud. We are all threatened with death and imminent death. Today, there are 9 countries that possess nuclear weapons. They have between them 15,700 nuclear weapons. The United States, Russia, Britain, France, China, Israel, India, Pakistan, and North Korea. Together alone, the United States and Russia have 14,700 of those nuclear weapons. And they have, of those, they have 1,800 that are constantly on high alert. They are ready to be launched within minutes. Let's remember that the threat to kill not just you and me, but everyone on this planet is a live and living threat at this moment. Most of those weapons are many times more powerful than the single atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima this day 70 years ago. A single nuclear warhead, if detonated over a large city, would kill not thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, but would kill millions of people, and its effects would last for decades and generations, and that's just one of them. And the failure of the nuclear powers to disarm heightens the risk that other countries are going to acquire nuclear weapons themselves. The only guarantee, I was asked here earlier today about the threat of the spread of nuclear weapons or nuclear weapons being acquired by rogue states or terrorists. The rogue states and the terrorists are those who have the nuclear weapons already and are threatening to use them. And the only guarantee against the spread of nuclear weapons, the only way to move to eliminate them, is for those who have them already to give the moral, the legal and the political commitment to eliminate them without delay. Why can't they? Biological weapons were banned in 1972, chemical weapons in 1993, landmines in 1997, cluster munitions in 1998, none of them as dangerous as one single modern nuclear weapon. Nuclear weapons remain the one source of potential mass destruction that can be held by the nuclear powers without any moral or legal sanctions. There is no international convention prohibiting them or making them illegal, even though they have the greatest destructive capacity of all. A global ban on nuclear weapons is long overdue and can be achieved if we want it and if we put on enough public pressure, just like the other weapons were banned. And such a ban could make it illegal not only for nations to use or to possess nuclear weapons, but would also pave the way for their complete elimination. International law obliges all nations to pursue in good faith and to conclude negotiations for nuclear disarmament. However, the nuclear armed weapon states have failed to live up to that legal obligation and to make this a world free of nuclear weapons. Their continued failure cannot remain an option. It cannot remain a political negotiating point for them. It cannot remain, possession of nuclear weapons cannot remain another political tool in their political armoury. So long as nuclear weapons exist, there's a real danger that they will be used again, and a ban is urgently needed, and it's needed now. As has been said by David and by the Lord Mayor, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty Review Conference in May has been yet another failure. It came to an end on the 22nd of May after 4 weeks of talks. 2 of the last 3 review conferences have now ended in failure. Why? Why? Why, for example, did Britain, Canada and the United States block it on, take the point, of creating a nuclear-free zone in the Middle East? Who was afraid of a nuclear-free zone in the Middle East? Negotiations went on for 10 years to secure a commitment from Iran not to develop nuclear weapons. Why is a similar demand not being made of Israel? What do they want nuclear weapons for? To kill more children in Gaza? To bomb convoys coming with aid through the Mediterranean? Iran has no nuclear weapons, yet Israel maintains a policy of ambiguity about its nuclear arsenal. It has 80 or more nuclear warheads, yet refuses to confirm or deny their existence. And yet Netanyahu had the gall in Washington this week, the effrontery, to condemn one small step towards making the Middle East free of nuclear weapons. In his arrogance in Washington this week, perhaps the Israeli Prime Minister should have recalled the saying in the Talmud, whoever destroys a soul, it is considered as if he destroyed an entire world. And whoever saves a life, it is considered as if he had saved the entire world. Decisive action is needed now to negotiate a new legal framework to outlaw and to eliminate nuclear weapons. Over 100 states, including, thank goodness, the Republic of Ireland, have signed the humanitarian pledge launched by Austria, which is why we're delighted to have the Austrian ambassador here today, undertaking to cooperate with all relevant stakeholders in efforts to stigmatise, prohibit and eliminate nuclear weapons in light of their unacceptable humanitarian consequences and the associated risks. It's clear that the nuclear weapon states are not interested in making any new commitments to nuclear disarmament. Now it's up to us, to the rest of the world, to start a process to prohibit nuclear weapons. Thank goodness for the Irish representatives at the NPT Review Conference who expressed frustration with the lack of meaningful progress towards disarmament and who called for action. The New Agenda Coalition, which includes Ireland, is now calling for the beginning of negotiations on effective measures to eliminate nuclear weapons. The challenge now is to maintain the momentum towards disarmament. Irish CND is urging the Irish Government and the Department of Foreign Affairs to take an active leadership role in moves towards a new legal framework for banning and eliminating nuclear weapons. We've seen in the last few days how a moral stance by a small country on small issues can actually give us a credible global voice, even when others are unwilling to act. For example, since its deployment in the Mediterranean, the Irish Naval Service has saved the lives of thousands of children, women and men. The actions and the officers and crews of the Ellie Neve and the Ellie Ethna are a genuine source of national pride. The deployment, though, is due for review next month. The government was reluctant to send those naval vessels to the Mediterranean. Now it must be told that it must keep them there. When this review comes up next month, public pressure must tell the government that this is humanitarian action. If we act locally, then we have a credible voice globally. in Schindler's List, Steven Spielberg's movie. I know you're all too young to have seen it. But Schindler is presented by the people that he rescued with a gold ring inscribed on the inside with that quotation from the Talmud that says, "Whoever saves one life saves the world entire." In other words, to save one life is the same as saving all of humanity. The actions of the Irish Naval Service in the Mediterranean in saving even one life yesterday is a commitment to saving all of humanity. But in saving those lives, we must reflect an Irish commitment to saving humanity. And the one way to ensure that is for committed nations, including Ireland, to undertake negotiations on a treaty banning nuclear weapons, even without the participation of those who are armed with nuclear weapons. The alternative is to continue allowing nuclear-armed nations to control the process and to perpetuate two-tier systems and treaty regimes that have no power to compel the nuclear-armed states to disarm. A nuclear weapons ban would globalise what nuclear weapon-free zones have already done regionally. It would allow nations in any part of the world to formalise their rejection of nuclear weapons and help create a clear international legal norm against the possession of nuclear weapons. The devastating effect of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki 7 decades ago provide a clear rationale for negotiating a ban. A powerful legal ban on nuclear weapons would not only stigmatise the weapons, but would also build the pressure for disarmament and for a safer world in which all of us can live without the fear and threat from those rogue states. It's time